Welcome back to the Manor. Julian McBain here, and this is my 41st Saturday vlog. So, had an interesting week this week. Had to go down to Meriden, Connecticut for my 9 to 5. Actually had an interview down there for a position. Didn't end up getting the position, but the interview went really well. And I'll be having a call with the person in question in order to get some feedback and find out how I did in comparison, because obviously I didn't get the position, but that doesn't mean I did a bad job. It just means that someone did better than I did. And I think it's important to think about that, because there's a lot of people out there, you know, and including myself in a lot of ways, that think that just because you didn't get a position when you interview doesn't mean you did a bad job at the interview. It just means that someone had either a better plan, or they interviewed better, or they did better at the interview. And so for those of you who are looking at moving positions in your life, whether it's a realignment or a promotion or a lateral, just keep in mind that just because you didn't get the job doesn't mean you didn't do well. And I think that there's not enough people out there who are ready to take a moment and just remind them of that. Thankfully, the 9 to 5 I have, the person that gave the interview, or at least one of the people who gave the interview, is willing to give feedback. And I think that's the most important thing when you do go for an interview. If you don't get the job, ask for feedback. Because that way, that will prepare you better for the next interview. And so next week, him and I are going to sit down and have a little meeting and discuss the whole thing. I can't go into what it was about, because you know I don't really disclose my 9 to 5, but it would have been an interesting position. As it stands, I will keep doing what I do, because it's what I do. I will say this though, I had to travel. What Google says is 3.5 hours is not always 3.5 hours. You know, when I was living in the Midwest, if I was going on a 3-hour trip, it was 3 hours long. Yeah, traveling through major cities, it doesn't always work like that. 3.5 hours in light traffic versus 3.5 hours in heavy traffic are grossly different. And it was heavy traffic. It was... I hit Springfield, Massachusetts at 4. I hit Hartford, Connecticut at 5 p.m. And as we all know, 5 p.m. is when rush hour starts. And let me tell you, it was definitely rush hour. When you're on a 3-lane wide highway, plus there is a carpool lane, and this is in Springfield, this isn't even Hartford yet, and the carpool lane is slowing down to a standstill. That's some heavy traffic. People wonder why I avoid Boston. That's why. And then, as I'm leaving Meriden has a really weird-ass intersection dealing with a highway interchange. And they don't do it logically like in Texas, where they have mix masters. Like, take you in all directions, but you know where you're going. No, it signs something, and then it signs something else badly, and then you end up going the wrong direction. And then you go to get back on the highway, and the only direction, or you end up on the wrong highway. And so you turn around, and you go back to get back on the highway, and the only direction it lets you go is the wrong direction. So, I didn't see the sign that the highway I needed to be, because the sign that I followed to get onto this highway said that this was the highway. And I didn't see the sign to show that the highway exited it and went a different way. So I'm like, oh, I gotta follow the highway. Well, come to find out, the highway turns into an expressway, which turns into just a normal surface street, divided highway, expressway type thing. So I turned around, and I'm trying to head back north, right? This is as I'm coming back to Vermont. So I turn around, and I'm like, well, I gotta follow this highway back to where the interstate is. Yeah, I got to the interstate all right. It would only let me go south. So I had to travel south to a whole different exit south of the town I was in, a whole different town. Use that interchange to turn around. And then drive back through, and that's when I saw what the intersection, what I had missed on the other intersection. If you didn't know what you were doing, it would be very, very easy to miss, because there's only one sign, it's up above your head, and traffic was shitty. So you're not looking up, you're looking at the cars and making sure that no one freaking jumps out in front of you. So I missed it, it's on me, but at the same time, it's just like, really guys? I had to go through all this trouble to get back on the highway. And the worst part is, there was an entrance to the highway right outside of where I was doing the interview, but I wanted a coffee. I had had like no coffee that morning. I had like 1 cup of coffee, and it was a small cup of, it was like one of those 6-ounce hotel cups of coffee. And that does not sustain a Julian, especially not on a long trip. So I went to Dunkin' Donuts and got myself a coffee, and I thought, oh, the entrance is right here. I'll just go take this one. Because there are several exits and you know, interchanges to the highway in Meriden. It's a fairly big town. Nope. I should have just taken the original one because it was actually north of that particular interchange. If I had been smart, that's what I would have done. I was not smart. That's not what I did. Oops. The best part is when I got back, so I came back and I left Connecticut at, by the time that whole tomfoolery was over, it was like 11 o'clock. So I get back to Vermont, and I stopped for lunch for like 15 minutes. It was knocking on 5 o'clock when I got back to my hometown. Oh. Halfway there to Connecticut. So I bought a car recently. It's got a temporary license plate. Temporary plate comes off. So I'm driving down a major highway with no license plates. Called the state police. They said I'd be fine. They took down my information, but it's just like, oh my god. So I had to run to the DMV after that. Sat an hour there. Discovered they can't help me because it's not in their system yet. I got to go back to the dealership. Went back to the dealership, and that took me an hour there to get a plate. So those are the misadventures of Julian McBain when he went on a trip he wasn't expecting. Or he was expecting, but it wasn't for like an event. See, I don't mind traveling, and I will say this. The trip made investing in the car worth it. Because my old car, I would have been in a lot of pain. Because the seats are all worn out. It's old. You know, she don't owe me nothing. But the difference between sitting on the ground for 5 hours and sitting up high for 5 hours is very, very poignant after 5 hours. I mean, I'm not in a big truck or anything, but being in a crossover definitely makes a difference. So there. In case y'all were interested, that's the misadventures of Julian McBain this past week. Tune in again next week for probably absolutely no misadventures because I don't plan on going anywhere until October. Where I get to go fall camping and fight. Gotta be careful what I say. I don't want YouTube to de-rank and keep me from actually being able to monetize this eventually. Not that I can monetize it yet, but eventually. Speaking of which, if you're new to the channel, welcome to the manor. Make sure you take a moment, hit the button down here, and subscribe. We are on the road to 13 million subscribers, one subscription at a time. So make sure you subscribe. Really appreciate all the support. We've actually been doing pretty well this month. 51 subscribers in the last 28 days. I can't thank you all enough. Like, that's huge. 51 subscribers in 28 days. And I know it's a rolling total, But to see that number go up in such a drought, like the last time I seriously checked on it, I think it was like, I don't know, 20. That's amazing. Thank you so much. I'm going to back up because a whole bunch of these guys just came up over the ridge. It's like when Godwin's son came riding over ridge. Come on, guys. Don't do this. Billy. Oh, did I get it? Oh, I got it. And he's aggroed somehow. Actually, he's probably just padding. Dear Mindark, at no point do I want to target prioritize the mob in the back. We need to have a chat about target priority when you're in a melee. Under no circumstances does the player who's in a melee want to target the mob in the back. So, nothing else really happened this week. It was a fairly, well, it was busy for me because I was plowing through and trying to get ready to be able to go on this trip. And when you lose a day and a half and you have to cram that into the rest of the week, it makes a huge difference. It's surprising how much of a difference that makes. Well, he's not unreachable. He's actually reachable for a chain. Fine. But all in all, it was a good week. I am... Come to think of it, it's the end of September, and I only have one of the videos I was planning for my second channel. I'm not sure. I may end up having to push that back, because how I wanted to execute that isn't quite how it's turning out. So I may end up pushing that back to November, or I might end up just winding it into this channel too. I haven't quite decided yet. I made one of the 4 videos I had planned on making. It didn't turn out. I've made it 3 times and it's still not turning out the way I want. So what I might do is I might just push it back, and I'll let you guys know when the second channel is coming out. I really had planned on it coming out. I did not expect this month to explode the way it did, but as an example, this interview that I did, which required a whole bunch of pre-planning, I expected it to be next month, and I was given 2 weeks to prepare for it. So, it is what it is. But it means that other things had to go, you know, had to take a back seat. And since keeping this channel going and well, I hate to use the term well stocked because I'm not actually stocking anything, but you know what I mean. You know, keeping it so that I'm still posting 7 days a week, keeping the quality of what I'm posting up. It had to take a back seat. I'm still planning on doing it. I've got one video made. I'm going to remake it one more time. And I'm going to go into the rest of the videos I planned on for the first month for that channel. I'm going to try to knock them out this weekend, but I'm not seeing that happen. If it doesn't happen, we'll figure it out. You know, that's the way it works. I'm also dealing with issues with the YouTube rules over channel naming because I don't want to name it the same thing I'm naming this, but it's not letting me change the name for any reason, and that's kind of frustrating. So that's the update on that channel. And then for this channel, I'm going to be redoing the Anixo video tomorrow, or for tomorrow, because of the video issues I had in the last attempt. It's because I did my Portal videos. Those videos are set to come out immediately after Borderlands 1. I'm already started on Borderlands 2, and those are set to come out starting after Portal. if I can get far enough ahead on it, which I'm going to try to do this weekend, I might have Portal and Borderlands 2 come out concurrently, and then just offset Portal to be like an afternoon release on the days I do McBain moments. Because it was, to me, doing Portal was something that needed to be done. Portal 2 is on the docket at some point. That might come out after Borderlands 2, or I might do it as a, taking a break, depending on how far ahead in Borderlands 2 I can get. Borderlands 3, of course, I am going to wait until it comes out on Steam, which I understand that there's going to be something like a 6-month delay. I know it makes it less relevant than those who are doing it using the Epic launcher, but I prefer to keep all of the series in one place if I can, which is why, like, all of my Fallout classic games are on Good Old Games and not on Steam. Even though all of my Fallout games are on Steam now. Back when I got them originally on Good Old Games, all of my other Fallout games were on Xbox 360. And so I picked up the PC versions after the fact. And at that point, they weren't available on Good Old Games anymore. So that being the one exception, I try to keep everything else kind of in the same place. I'm trying to think. I don't know. The other game I'm going to be doing one on that's really quick, and it again might be when I'm just, need a break from Borderlands, is going to be Limbo. Because I understand that's a really short game too. So expect that one to be coming out at some point. Probably, at this point, that one might be early next year. But I'm really starting to get into the Let's Plays and add to that library, which is really, for those of you who are looking to start a channel, that's something really important, Don't become overwhelmed. Focus on one thing at a time. For me, like, the Entropia videos are my core offering, but a channel is limited if you only do one thing, and that's the downside to having an MMO be the primary offering, is that you really focus on that one niche, and Entropia is extremely niche. And by comparison, something like WoW is extremely flooded. I almost thought this was a chicken, which is ironic because the berry clutter are called chickens. And so that's my basic plan. I still want to do Subnautica at some point. If Borderlands 3 is not out by the time I'm done 2, I may end up doing a Subnautica run in the meantime. Borderlands games are not short, though. I think the last one I spent 25 hours on. So I'm expecting this one to be at least that long. But we'll see. I'm only like an hour, maybe 2 hours in. And I know that those of you who actually like Borderlands are like, wait a second, I can't see it yet. No, you can't see it yet. Gotta finish Borderlands 1 first. But it is happening. So rest assured on that one. Come on. There we go. Kill the terp. I feel kind of silly killing terps, but at the same time, they still provide skills. Okay. There we go. Like, I kind of like the loot. I know I'm not going to get as much as I spent on it, but I still want the loot. As you can see, I'm still working on my knife fighter skills. How is my health? Yeah, we're almost 137. For those of you who have been here a long time, you know how obsessive I am about being tanky. Which is ironic because in Final Fantasy I am not a tank. Although, red mages are fairly tanky as far as cloth wearers go. Mostly because of self-heals. Okay. Trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to go through today. You know, the benefit to these vlogs is I can talk about anything I want. But at the same time, sometimes there's not a whole lot on my mind. Oh. I have remembered, again, not for the first time, that, you know, I'm not 21 anymore. Got a bit of a headache. It's more impacted sinus than hangover because I don't have, like, the dizzy, nausea thing going on. But, you know, when you drink and it dries out your system because, you know, alcohol dehydrates you. So this morning I have a nice little impacted sinus. I forgot what time of year it was. So there's that. And this is me reminding myself that I am not 21, I am 35, and therefore can't be doing that shit anymore. On the plus side, there were 2 days this week where I didn't drink at all, which is a step up for me. I generally have a nightcap. So there's that. And I think now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start working my way back toward the hangars into the safe zone. I really wanted to get through this this level of the challenge, but I don't think that's going to happen. At rank 10, the percentages really start to drop. It means I might have to go after the level 12 ones up over at Royal Club. I mean, then that's good, because it means that you're not just going to, like, blow through all of the challenges all at once. And then the 30,000 challenge is going pretty well. We have a whole year to complete it. I plan on utilizing that time to get that done. I am disappointed that none of these are providing globals. Like, I think I've globaled once the entire time I've been out here fighting these guys, and when I was fighting Curbs, you could almost guarantee a global a day. It wasn't a huge global. It was like 15 ped. But it still was there. And so it's like, well, you just do the trumpet with the swirly. You know? It gives the endorphin rush. It's like a drug. Doing pretty good on loot, though. Speaking of which, I need to go through and see what... This is so deceiving, having it be 60.00 pack. Bastards. Okay, guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe down below. We are on the road to 13 million subscribers. One subscription at a time, so make sure you subscribe. Guys, I really appreciate all of your support. We'll all see you tomorrow.